Welcome to People Love Process. This is going to be another impromptu episode of Over the Shoulder Vector Building. What I'm going to be focusing on, and this is a theme that I do at least once a year, it's creating what I call a modern culture design. Now, back in 2021, coming off the COVID year, I decided to try to do something creative every day. And so I started an art series that I called Modern Kulture. And every day for the whole year, I had to build out a design. And I kept the format kind of square proportion, but I used the exact same techniques and styling, and the color palette was established. Everything you see in my swatches panel, by the way, these are all the colors I ever used in any of the over 370 designs that I created that year for this kind of art series. It's a personal creative project, just to see if I'd never done that before, by the way. And as I did it, I kind of taught myself some new techniques, and we might run into a few of those in building out the designs here. Now, recently I sketched out 3 ideas, and this was one of them. This one is called Blurg, a guy zooking, basically. I got a good story I'll tell you about an actual project I worked on where I had to create a vomit kind of graphic, and everything that transpired from that. It's kind of interesting. That took place back in, I don't know, maybe 2008 or something like that. But anyway, drew out 3 designs. I'm going to build one. We're going to build this one. And then the second one I'll build as well, but that'll be a time lapse. And then the third one, I have it set up for everybody here, but I'm going to let you build that one. So if you access the exercise files and want to build that, you can, and then you can send it to me. But I want to show you the aesthetic so it matches the set. And by the way, I won't take anybody's art and include it in my set. That's not why I'm doing this. I just thought you might want to try one for yourself. And without having to draw anything, you can use the third one. And I'll go over that as we move on. So this is where it starts. It starts because I created over 370s. I have over 400 now, by the way, in the series, because I keep adding to it whenever I come up with an idea or I do a doodle I like. This was my doodle. And it's not a perfect square because usually I had used a grid. After I developed like 40 of these or something when I first started, I had used a grid, a drawing template of sorts, and it's this one where I printed out 8.5 by 11 horizontal, and I could just doodle on it whenever I had an idea, and that way I'm ensuring that it's pretty close to a square proportion in my doodle. Well, after I did so many of those, I even got lazy and didn't print out my grid. And so I doodle something like this, and this is pretty square, but if you drop the grid over it, it's not a perfect square. It's squarish in terms of its vertical height, that's fine, but its horizontal width isn't filling out a square. So I have a template I set up in Photoshop that I can just scan in a sketch, once again, use my flatbed scanner, drag it into Photoshop, and then I'll just adjust it. And that's what I did to get it into a perfect square here. So this is the sketch, and we're going to go ahead and just set this to go to transparency. We'll set it, I like doing about 15%, and then locking the layer. And we're going to build right on the layer above it. And this is part of my template. The inside line reflects the outermost edge of the core artwork. Now, it's going to go beyond that once we expand it and once we do an offset path on it, because all the artwork had a consistent offset path of a certain thickness, and the interior lines were all the same thickness, and those are at 4 points. That's why we have this called at 4 points. Now, I have this up here at 200 and 8 points. Why is that? Because after I'm done building the art, I blew it up 200%. That increases the line thickness from 4 to 8. And you might be thinking, why don't you just build it that size? I don't know. I just started at this size, and that's what I stuck with, and I still stick with it. So we're just going to build this artwork. Now, we're zoomed out here, so I always zoom in before I build like this. And once again, we're building in the thickness of 4. So if I just create a box on the build layer here like this, and I click on this graphic style, this is the thickness. If we go to strokes, you can see it's 4. So this is the thickness we're going to build out, and that seems like pretty thick, and it is. And that forces me, as I'm working, to keep things as simplified as possible. So I might build some shapes using like this thickness here. So if we create the mouth first, let's go ahead and do that. We'll just go like this. And most of this is shape building, like that. Then we might go to path, go to offset path, go to a negative number. We'll try 10 since that's already in there. And I might go one more, 11, like that. Take this, bring it over and make sure it's in front. Select this, and we'll go to our Pathfinder methods. Where's my Pathfinder? Did I not have Pathfinder open? I guess not. So we'll bring it over here because we use a lot of Pathfinder methods as we're building this artwork, and I'll go minus front. So this will end up being the lips. Now, I've seen videos online where if you take these two corners and you round them, they're not going to match. They're going to be fatter, and that doesn't look good. So you can do the inside corners first. So if we select these two, and I'm just using the corner widget, then that establishes the radius right about there. Then you can take this and you can match it like that, but you're eyeballing it. Now, this is where Illustrator's rounding tool, they didn't think this through very well or implement it. It gets in the way at times. This should snap. It should know where the other radius is and just snap to it. You would think that would be common sense. So what I usually do is I use the dynamic corners, this Astute plugin, because I just prefer it. So if I go like this, figure out that radius, apply it here, notice it still keeps this target area here, and so I can pull this out and just register it with that. It's intuitive. That's why I love Astute, and since I did the first one, I can just click on the second one. So once again, they had their rounding before Illustrator decided to steal the feature and put it in themselves, but do it in a less intuitive and less effective way, in my opinion. Astute's, I used it for about 6 years before Illustrator finally got their act together and put it in like that. Now, we need to test this, so I'm going to just select this, and that's why I have the graphic styles. So you don't want it to eat away so much that we just have a thin little white line. So I think this looks fine. So we'll go ahead and leave that, and then I'm going to create his head. So we'll go back up to the pen tool here. And I'm going to just build straight because it's easier, like this. And we'll adjust everything. We're going to go back to the back of his head, go all the way down to the bottom here, go all the way up to here. And actually, I'm going to end it right about there because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the pen tool and I'm going to start here, right about here, go up to right there, come down here. Again, I'm building squares because I want to take this and we can round those to get that chin. And then we can round this to get that. And it's easier than trying to build all those curves. And then this can just snap to right where that anchor point comes in, like that. We'll do the same thing up here, because if we turn off the build layer we're on, you can see everything's rounded in my drawings. So now I'll just go up here, and we can use the corner widget. That's fine. It's not that I don't use the corner widget. It's just on certain things, the better tool wins out, as I was showing you on the mouth, like this. So if I take this, I'll put the curve on his head. We'll go down here, his jawline, like that. And whenever it terminates, you don't want a flat top. So if you go to stroke, you have a flat cap, you have round cap, and you have, I forget what they call this one. This one is like flat, but it continues it around the anchor point. So I always use the round when I'm working on these designs like this. And this is, I'll go in, I'll select this, then I'll go up here and I'll add a little line here, because I think just having a little wrinkle right there in his nose looks good. We'll go up here, we'll do his nostril. Oops, make sure we're on the right tool. We'll do the nostril like this. And then we select these, around them to get the nostril. And now on his eyeball, we'll start here. We'll go to the ellipse tool. Bring it over. Now, if we wanted to, if I wanted this to touch here, one thing that I could do is, there's no way to natively draw a shape where it anchors to one shape in terms of the top of the head and the bottom shape, which would be by his mouth. This is one way you could do it. You could eyeball it until you get it close, like right about there. Make sure we're the same thickness here. And then I go to a plugin, oops, it's right here, called Snap to Collision. It's the ColliderScribe. Well, this is the specific tool, Snap to Collisions tool. It's an astute plugin, by the way. But do I use it every day? No. But when I need to do this, it comes in really handy, because the only way you can do it in Illustrator natively is to eyeball it, or you can go to keyline view like this and kind of nudge and zoom in, try to get those lines aligned, especially down here. It's guesswork, and it's not super precise or fast. So why do it? Well, this, I can just drag it. Notice it puts, now both of those I know are touching the top and the bottom part of the mouth. And so this is where I want to position the eye. So it makes doing that kind of stuff just dead simple. And it's like, there's no reason Illustrator couldn't have these type of features, but they don't think that detailed when they're developing. They come up with stupid stuff like, what's one of their dumbest new features? I don't even remember it because I don't even use it. It's the one where I want to say entangle. That's not what it's called. Intertwine. That's it. Super useless, because you might be able to mock something up pretty quick, but bottom line, you're going to have to build it out natively and intuitively, because you'd never give somebody a file with all those things masked, especially if it's a branding graphic. You have to build it out clean so it's production ready. And talking to one of their engineers, I explained this before. I asked them, well, couldn't you have, once you add an intertwine, put something on the properties panel that says expand, and it would build it out clean? Well, yeah. Well, why don't you do that? Well, then it became a political thing, why they probably couldn't get that done. And I'm like, whatever. So, okay, so that's his eyes. So that's pretty easy. The shapes on his teeth are easy, because this is where, depending on if you have plugins or not, what you start out with first. I start with a, let's go ahead and do this. I start out with the circle because even though it's a circle, how many corners are in a circle? This is a trick question. Well, there are none. It's a circle. It has no corners, and that's the way Illustrator engineers think. But astute graphic engineers who write and develop for their software think, well, yeah, it's a circle, but it can be a square. So you could go in and you could do this. And that's the way I use it all the time. Now, if you're doing this in Illustrator, you can do the same thing. You just don't start with a circle. You start with a square. So you'd create a square like this. Let's go ahead and move this over. And you just isolate these two. And then you have the corner widget, and you can get the same shape. Now, the only difference here is there's an inherent problem with using that methodology in Illustrator, because if you go here and you click, you now have a redundant anchor point piggybacking on the other one, whereas on the Astute one, because it's a circle you start with, you have no redundancy. It's just a smooth anchor point transition. So that's why I love Astute, because they think through those details, and they build their products not to cause problems or cause other problems that didn't pre-exist. So I kind of like that. So in this one, and these are the shapes I probably use the most throughout all my design, as I call them scallop shapes, for lack of a better term. And this is where I'm just going to take this, because I'll use it down here too, like this. So I don't even know if this is the right size. Let's go ahead and figure out the exact size of the teeth. Then I'll adjust these like this. Let's see what that looks like. I think that's fine. So this is telling me some of these elements in here are going to probably have to get smaller. And then I just copy that, move it over like that. And then we'll do it one more time. And then wherever it overlaps over here, I can just trim off the part we don't need, like that. So I like the top ones. I might, anytime I can save time, I'll just go ahead and clone those. We'll reflect them. Oops, I let go of these. Okay, we'll reflect these down. I'm thinking rather than recreate the tooth like that. Okay. Yeah, I like that. We're going to go ahead and create the ear here. So I'm going to cut this. Actually, I'm going to cut it all the way down here, get rid of this. Because we need to make the ear, we need to make the kind of, what do you call those? The back is, I've been standing in line somewhere and some guy in front of me has those, I think a friend of mine from Upper Deck days called it HotDog rolls on the back of his neck, which just cracked me up. I thought that was a funny way to describe it. Okay, so bet you didn't think you'd hear that in this video. Okay, let's do this. So again, build straight. We might need to bring this down in order to round this one. So we'll round the top one first. And I'll adjust this. We might not even need that one. Let's just get rid of it, because we'll just do the round. Yeah, that looks fine. There, so there's his ear. We'll snap that in there. And on these, sorry about my allergies, my sinuses are all plugged up. I used to do immunology shots every week. Then my immunologist doctor, for my allergies, I go see every couple weeks to get the shot, retired. In comes a new doctor, and every about 7 or 8 months I had to have to order a new serum, which is just basically just a mix-up of everything I'm allergic to, dust and tree pollen, etc. And then that's what I would be injected with. So you build an immunity to it, and it was working great. Then my doctor retired, new doctor comes in, and the new doctor decides to jack the price up from $300 for a new serum mix up to $1,000. And then my insurance wouldn't pay for it. It's like, so basically my allergies have reverted back to what they were prior to getting immunology shots, which kind of sucks because this time of year, basically through the whole summer and this time of year, it's like, it like my sinuses are just messed up. I can't breathe. Okay, I think that's good, but just so we can see how it interacts, let's go ahead and do this. And if you need to, always zoom in if you feel warranted. And we'll cut it there, like that. So we'll do that. We'll sample this to get the round cap. And I don't think we need that one. There we go. So we got the hot dog rolls on the back of the neck like that. We'll do this. We'll go offset. Let's see, a 10. 10 might be too much. No, that's not bad. So just to get this line, and we'll go about there. The rest we don't need. And again, this will be the round cap. Okay, so we have most of the character. Let's go ahead and focus on the line around his, oops. Okay. This one might be tricky. There might not be enough space. Oh, that's not that bad. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this down. I'll lessen that. And I think I'll cut off part of his ear. We'll Van Gogh him like that. So my drawing's definitely imperfect. So because I wouldn't even spend on none of these did I spend time refining my drawing. It was just to capture the essence of what I wanted to create, and then I'd make adjustments as you see here. Okay, I think that looks good. Okay, so I'm gonna cut this one off right about here, and this one, now I can't remember what I did up here. Okay, right about here. Then we can take this part we don't need. This one, I'll just go in until okay, I'm gonna have to finesse that one because we'll fix that. I'll go in here. I'll select this. I'll select this. We'll go to Shape Builder tool. I'll hold Option down just to get rid of the part that overlaps there. Oops. And I always do that with this tool, is I accidentally paint something. Okay. On this one, you can see it bumping out right there. So I'm just going to put it, I don't want this inner curve to be messed up. So I'll do something like that. And then let's move that up. So that'll be fine. And make sure it has the round cap. Might even move that one up. Actually, now that I'm looking at it this close, I'm going to go like this. Snap it, and then I'm going to add a round here. Just so it swoops into his nostril. I think that looks better. Okay, I do like the having this detail in there. Let's make them round. And by the way, if you know, years ago I was hanging out with Nick from Astute Graphics, and this is the context I was thinking in. I go, I just really wish I could grab this anchor and just slide it down this path just to adjust it. And he's going, why would you need that? And I explained to him, if I'm working on some other, then if I can't do that, then I have to rebuild everything and just to see if it'd look good. Well, check this out. This is why I love Astute Graphics again. I know I talk about Astute Graphics a lot, but they're worth it. They are relentless in quality. So I think that's awesome. So if we go here and I go to this reposition point tool, I call it the Vaughn tool because this was the idea I gave them, is you can grab this head or this anchor and you can slide it down. Oops. Maybe it doesn't work from the, do I have the right tool? I do. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, duh. I'm yes, that does work, but it has to be an anchor within a path, not on the end of the path. I was thinking the wrong tool here. You want to use the extend path tool. So you just grab the end and you could extend it this way if you want to. We don't want to do that. Or you can just bring it back. And notice it shows the gray area. That's the geometry mapping out, kind of a rubber band effect. I'm just going to bring this down so we have a little more buffer up here. And even I think on this one, I'll bring this down just a little bit as well. So it's stuff like that. I love having that flexibility. Okay, so we got the guy. I think he looks pretty good. One thing I'm going to do, I think, is the edge. I'm not going to have this inside wobble. I will have this one. I think what I'm going to do is I want these teeth to be a little more prominent. So I'm going to bump them up. 1, 2. I'm using my nudge keys. 2, 3, 4, something like that. And then I'll just drag select these and bring them down until they snap. And then on this one here, this is a good example of that extend path tool. I'll just extend it till it hits that and it resolves that. So yeah, I like those better. So let's do this. We'll get rid of those. Grab these, clone it, Command C, Command F, find anywhere here to reflect them up, and then we'll snap them into place like that. Did I not have that one? What? Wait a minute. Did I screw that up? Oh, I did. Okay. Oops. That should have been there. And then that goes down there. Okay, I think that looks better. I don't think we'll need that guy. Okay, we have to do the puke part. So I'm going to try something here. So I'll tell you a vomit story, a puke story, a Zook story. I'll call it Zook because that was part of the design. Years ago, there was some guy in Britain who came up with the idea of commissioning a bunch of barf bag designs so that he could pitch it to Virgin Airlines to use on their airline flights. And I thought, that's brilliant. Let's definitely, I want to get in on that. I mean, when do you get it? Like, this would not be for any client. I don't know any client that need this. So there is that. But he put together all of these designs done by different artists, and I did one of them, and mine was just simply pragmatic. It just shows a face, very graphic, and he's just blah, and it's puking out, spelling the word Zook, which is a nickname for puking. I don't even remember where he got that from. I had just heard it one time, thought it was funny. Anyway, he did the set and he got the attention of the marketing people at Virgin. And so on Virgin airline flights, my Zook bag was on their international flights for I think a year. And so that was kind of funny. I should have put it in here to show you guys. But anyway, about a year goes by, and my wife gets a catalog from a company called the Oriental Trading Company. You might be familiar with that if you have kids, because it's a great place to get little trinkets and stuff for parties, or in this case, it was one for Halloween, and bags that kids could use, or you could use 4 bags to give out treats to kids or party favors, etc. And I'm looking through it just because I like looking through that kind of stuff. And lo and behold, there's my Puke bag. They had just literally taken my artwork and manufactured bags that they were selling through their catalog. And this is before I even knew. Oriental Trading Company is owned by Warren Buffett. His base investment company, Hathaway, something, Berkshire Hathaway. And I was like going, are you kidding me? And so I had to basically track down their legal counsel at Oriental Trading Company and say, look, here's my artwork. This is what it's for. Somebody in China who manufactures this for you just took it and did this. And it was a no-brainer. Once I showed it to them, they paid me how much I was asking for. So, yeah, that was a little interesting. Then years later, I ended up started doing work for a company called Smile Makers, owned by Berkshire Hathaway. And they started talking to me one time about the Oriental Trading Company, and then I told them that story. It was a little weird since I'm doing work for them now, but at one point, they got caught, stealing my artwork. Copyrights happen a lot. I'm trying this. I don't even know if I don't really like this at all. So, you know what? I tried to build this straight. Once again, when it works, it works. When it doesn't, it doesn't. So I'm not going to force it. I'm just going to go ahead and build these more as I'll show you another feature I like. Once again, Astute Graphics. You can do this manually, but it's just going to take longer because you have to finesse it quite a bit. So we'll start off with something like that. That represents that kind of splash area. Like that. We can go something like that. This will make sense once I show you this part, and this isn't going to go fast. I knew this would be the hardest part to create in this design just because of these curves and stuff. It's more organic. These I can create using pretty much geometric methods, but when it comes to this, that's pretty organic. You know what? I'm going to rethink this again. I'm not going to do it this way. I'm just going to take a thin line. I'll start here. I'll go here. So now I would struggle with this if I was creating this, 4 years ago when I did the series. So we'll just try to, I think maybe that's the way to solve it, is, now that I'm thinking about this, I'm going to get rid of this. It needs to come to just 2 points. Then I can round it and hit this, round this. I think that's how I'll solve this. The other thing when I originally started this series is I tried to keep the time, the length of time I took investing in creating a design like this to a certain period of time. And I did that for a while, and then after a while I'm going, well, this isn't client project, so I'm just going to do it until I like it. And once I did that, is actually a lot less stressful. So okay. Okay, let's try this. And we'll bring this down. And I'm eyeballing it still. Well, I like that shape a lot more. Yeah, I can live with this. This is more in tune with the overall style. That looks fine. Okay, I was overthinking it. Bring this down a little bit. I don't want it to exceed there. Perfect. Then we'll find the edge. Okay, this looks a lot better. Find the edge. Round that. So I had the right idea, but I didn't execute it very well. I've been working on a fun project. It's interesting because, anytime somebody contacts me and they have a question about vector art or they ask me to review a design if I could, I always try to do it because, frankly, I would have loved to be able to do that when I got out of art school and stuff. And it wasn't always the easiest. I mean, the internet didn't exist at that time, so that didn't help. You had to physically call people and stuff. But years ago, this goes back quite a few years, like 7 years or so, I get contacted by a designer, and he's the in-house designer for the French consulate, of the UN. Or something like that. I'm probably getting that title all messed up, but it's the French government, and it was for their body of political people plugged into the UN. He was creating some presentation. He wanted me to look at it, and so I did a conference call with him, and I looked at it, and I gave him some pointers on what could improve it and stuff, and that's pretty much all it was. And here, all these years later, him and another French guy decided to start a business. They both got kind of passionate about making gelato, of all things. And so that's what I've been working on is helping them brand their gelato company, which isn't going to be in France or isn't going to be in the United States. It's actually going to be in Panama City, Panama. So part of me helping them was we did name exploration and me researching that area, which it's interesting because I just read a book last year by David McAuliffe on the building of the Panama Canal, which was pretty kind of amazing story in and of itself. Okay, we're gonna, just so I can see what's going on, I'm gonna outline the color. And then that'll dictate how far I can pull it. Okay. So that actually, that puke looks a lot better than I thought it would. So I'm I'm kind of happy with my puke. Okay. I'm coloring these different colors just so it's easier for me to see how it's going to interact with the other elements here. Like there won't be a little wedge. That'll just be black fill in there, so I don't worry about stuff like that. And this one, you know, I do think we want little ones. These ones, we won't even outline. We don't need to. They'll just be, oops. What did I just do? They'll just be fills. Same with this one up here. So copy and paste it. These are all the chunkified areas. You know what? No, I'm not going to have those. Those will be on the interior. We'll do that because I want this unique profile to be left. I don't want these poking out. I had somebody not too long ago ask me, when you work, you're obviously talking to, like I am, to you guys watching this. Do I tend to talk to myself when I work? To be completely honest, yes, I do. I've even had my wife come in. I'm carrying on a conversation with myself. She's just like waiting there. It's kind of funny. She likes trying to scare me in my office. She'll just come, walk in. I don't hear her, and just stand by my desk until I notice her, and it freaks me out. And then she just starts laughing. Okay, we'll give him. I'm not going to bend the tongue. Doesn't need it. Blech. Okay, the skull will be fun. Oops, let's do this. I don't need it like that. I don't know if this, I didn't even think about this. Why is a guy barfing up a skull? Is he a cannibal? Yeah, I don't know. It's just to reflect how gross vomit is, I guess. And by the way, this, all of these, this will be one color, probably green. And all of this will just be I was thinking knocked out, but I don't know if that'll work. I don't know. There are rules to this style that if you violate them, they don't work so well. It doesn't work so well. So I think about all that when I'm developing new designs, especially as I went along. People, when they followed this whole series back in 2021, I had people who would commission me to create one specifically for them. And that was hard because there's certain things you just can't build in a style. It's just like it's futility to try to force it to work for this or that. A good example of that is I was approached by these guys who have a tattoo shop in Germany, and they wanted me to rebrand it, but they wanted it in this style, and they wanted a baboon basically. And it's like, I was like, this just isn't going to work. There's too much detail in what they wanted to work with such a graphic style. It's like it'd be hard to tell it's a baboon basically. And so ultimately I did what I thought worked better and showed it to him. But that doesn't look like this. And I go, hey, you're not going to get that. That's just not going to happen. It's not going to work well. Okay, we're almost done here. I'm just going to create the fish. I don't even know about the candy. I might not even do that. I like the fish, though. It kind of makes me laugh, so I want to do that. So I'm going to use another cheat and use another Astute plugin, because even though I drew it kind of flat, I want his head to be more fishy. Like that. It's a skeleton. So there's a common denominator between everything in the vomit. It's skeletal. Except the candy. That's why I'm not sure I'll do the candy. I'll just stick with... And then it'd allow me just to knock all these out from whatever the background color is. And I like that. I wanted to be able to do that. So I think that's how I'll solve the problem I thought I had. Okay. Then these will be the same width as our line work. So you can see how chunky that is. That's okay. We'll do that. It'll be a round cap. It's a little close. Move it down. And then once we establish that, I can create the tail. We'll create one bone. Another bone. That's probably all we need on that one. And then I'm going to do we'll just vary the shape and the size. Some of these might just be black popping through to the background. Some might be some of the other colors that are in our swatches palette, just to represent different ingredients of what he's zooming out. I remember growing up, some of you might think, Vaughn, you have a weird sense of humor or whatever. I blame my mom. I remember my mom, for whatever reason, she just thought it was hilarious. She found some plastic vomit, and it looked authentic. It looked like somebody ate a bunch of nachos and just lost it on the floor. And so friends would come over to the house, and then she would flip it on the ground when they weren't looking, and then she act like, "What's that? What'd you do?" And there, she also had a coffee cup with a fake roach in it, and pour them coffee. So they're drinking their coffee, and then they'd see the roach at the bottom of the cup. You know, My dad's funny, but he's more of a dry sense of humor. My mom is more comical, but sometimes she doesn't know how far she's going, which I remember me and my sister, Amy, we get to the breakfast table some morning. It happened to be April 1st. We sit down, and on our plates for breakfast, there's plane tickets. And we're looking at them, they say Disneyland. And we're like, what's this for? We're taking you to Disneyland. And we were freaking out. We're going, yay. And then they said April Fools. I think about it now, and it just completely cracks me up because my parents would, really? You would actually think that's like a good thing to do, you know? It's kind of funny. My sister Amy is a really good artist as well. She's illustrated for some children's books and stuff. Okay. Okay, I think we have pretty much the base artwork. I'm not going to do the candy thing, so we just need to finalize this. So if we go back to layers, this was the build layer. So what I want to do is I want to kind of build it out clean. I have the expanded layer here, but I'm not going to do it that way. I'm going to go ahead and just duplicate this layer. Turn this one off. We don't need the sketch anymore. And we'll just clean build like that. And what do I mean by clean build? Well, all of these, that will be a line. So these need to be like this. We'll match that style. So these will make the little gaps for the teeth. Maybe even bring those down. When you're at a certain zoom ratio, it always wants to jump too far. So you have to zoom in, and then you can finesse it. I've noticed Illustrator has more and more of an issue with selection. I don't know what they did. I'm not even bothering to report it to Illustrator anymore just because they don't listen. So, okay, then I'm going to, you know what? I'm not going to round cap this. I'm going to go to stroke. I'm going to go flat cap. Or maybe something right about there. Hey, this must be Tom Cruise's skull because it has a center tooth right in the front. Okay. These I'm going to go into expand. So we'll go outline stroke. We'll select the eyes. All this will unite. Making sure it's on top of this one. We'll go minus front. So we have the skull set up, ready to go. This here, all these will go outline stroke. Select the fish head, unite it. Take that, make sure it's in front. Select this, go minus front, and you'll lose it. And minus front, there we go. So those are all ready. This is where I'll go in on this one. There's certain things I'll do to detail a design like this where I'll round off some of these sharp corners, but I'll do that next. So let's go ahead and just select all of the outlines here, including the zook, the tongue, teeth up here, the line, the nostril, the nose wrinkle, the head, the eye, everything that's a stroke. I think I have them all selected. And then we can go outline stroke. So you can see this will turn them into shapes. I'm not going to go in and clean up because notice here, we might get an anchor point here or an anchor point here or here. Usually I go in and I clean those all up. And if you want to do that, just deselect the ones that you see could be a potential problem. And then you can just expand the other ones. I'm going to just leave the other ones and we'll correct this if that happens. So just so you can see which ones we have selected, we'll color all these. Oops. We'll color all these green like this. And oh, it looks like I forgot to outline that. Well, we'll do that too. Go here and we'll go outline. I'm sorry, not outline stroke. We already did that. We'll go unite like that. Okay, so that's fine. Let's go ahead and outline this stroke. I forgot to get that one. Outline stroke. And notice this might do the same thing. So you can just go in like that. Just as long as it falls within the space, then you don't have to worry about it. Then you can select this, and go unite, and it fuses together. Now, if you go to appearance, it's going to change it to a group. So if you try to do a minus front or something, you might lose something. So you want to change this back to a compound nature. Then here, notice at the top and bottom, so this is where it's kind of a pain that you have to do this. Illustrator, you know, they do all this stuff with AI, but then when it comes to building and craftsmanship, nothing about Illustrator inherently is improved by AI. It's only these other features that they have within their software that go outside of AI. See, this is hard. Outside of a lowercase I, meaning goes to the internet to play off the server to do the processing. Now, if they actually had AI that was smart enough to know you would never want to add an extra anchor point on this curve, then it should be smart enough not to do it, but it's not. So they use AI in all the wrong ways, in my opinion. It's like stop robocalls, stop spam email. I'd go for that all day long, but they don't focus on any of that, whether it's Apple or whether it's anybody else. Or at least they don't focus on it without wanting to charge you more money, without, you know, even though usually it's those companies who get breached, and that's where all of our data goes to. So there's that. Okay. So we got pretty much everything. The only outlines are on these, so we'll go ahead and get these expanded. Like that. What we can do here is I can go to compound path. I can go release. Might have to ungroup it. All these shapes on top. These shapes I can just make white. Then I can take this. We'll bring this eyeball to the front. Select this. I'm going to go to compound. I'm going to go release. So it releases all those shapes. Ungroup it a couple times. Deselect the outermost shape. Then all these interior shapes can be white. And so we'll color those white like that. We'll reselect the exterior shape. And then we'll have to fix that. But we'll just go ahead and copy it to the clipboard. I'll select all the shapes we have on this layer, and I'll go Command B, paste behind. That's what we want. Just for now, I'll take these. We don't need those. We already built everything. Then I'll select these outside shapes. Like that, the outside shape that's green. Then we'll unite these together like that. So we have this shape, all these islands sitting on top. How do we lose our fish? What happened to our fish? Okay, see, this is what I do at times. This is why a lot of people, when you do Pathfinder message, if you're not paying attention, you'll actually lose stuff and not notice it until you go a few steps further. So what I have to do now and what I do in real life, because I don't want to actually, I would just Command Z back until I figure out where my fish disappeared. But because we made a copy of the layer, I'm just going to go to this one, which is in keyline view here. And I'll just bring all these shapes. I'll copy them. And we'll just paste them into place right here. We don't need this. That's accidentally selected. So we'll just take all of these paths and we'll go outline stroke. We'll take the head. We'll go unite. We'll paste behind the eye. Then we'll minus front. And now we got our fishy back. So not sure how I lost that, because I wasn't paying attention, I guess. Okay, well, this will ultimately, we're going to ultimately create this as a black. Inside the eye, the pupil will be a black. And now what we want to do is, this is still, we don't need these. We can get rid of those. We're going to make all these, which will be white. We'll do a white-like color, like that. Get rid of the outline, because those will be white. We'll just make all of these the magenta color, because we'll select specific color when we get to that, like that. So we have all the basics. Now, the key to this style is the interior lines were all the same thickness. The exterior line, the outermost profile of the line, was thicker. And so we want to retain that. And so let's go ahead and zoom out. So this is our artwork. So it's at this point, now that everything's been, oops, let's make sure to get this, copy it, paste it behind our wrinkle. Then we'll go minus front like that. We'll select this part because that'll be part of the face. We'll unite it like that. Actually, we'll do those few things right now. We'll take everything that's the puke, will be the puke color, like that, and we'll unite them. Then we'll select the background shape. Make sure everything inside the puke area is brought to the top. Okay, his teeth. With the exception of, we might give him one gold tooth. Why not? We'll group those. This can knock out of the eyeball. So it's just the black showing through. Okay, so now that we have those, I will copy everything. Go to this layer, paste it, and now I will blow it up 200%. So we built at 4 points, like that. Now, if I go ahead and add an outline to the black, and we go to the strokes, notice it's going to eat inward and outward. So if it's an 8-point now outline, essentially, and we want to double it, let's say we want to go to 16, that means it will go 8 outwards and 8 inwards. So if we just click this into 8 like this, this shows you how thick it is. But if you wanted to actually get 16, that would be 32. So you'd type in like this, and notice how it butts the edge of this outline thing, like that. I think this is a bit too much, so I'm going to knock it back to 24, something like that. And this is where your aesthetic, you don't have to follow the aesthetic I do on my own set. I'll let you handle this the way you want. You know, you might think that's too thick, in which case you could go back even further. Maybe you only think it should be 17, like that. I think that looks fine as well. So that's up to you. I think 18 looks fine. These interior shapes, I'll just fill in on this one. I wouldn't leave that showing through. It really doesn't add much. But this is the point that I get it, and then I go, okay, I want to select everything, make a copy, group it, and then I'm going to put this in my X file so I can always come back to it later if I want to. But we'll select this outline we created, and we're just going to expand that because we don't want any outlines left in it. We want it just be fill color. And we'll go outline stroke, and then we'll just go unite. Notice it has this inner part here. Double click, select that, delete it. I think everything else is fine, like that. We can select, you know, if you don't want the guide part in here like this, that's fine. We can just move that up to the X layer like that. And now this is where I want to do some little detailing. So I'm going to zoom into the face, and all these come to sharp points. This is where I just think rounding it makes it look a little nicer. Like I'll put little rounds there. This might go into a shadow area. Same with here. Same down here. Not that any of this is realistic. It just helps it be more readable, in my opinion. Like that. Even add little curves there. Little curves there. I think on the teeth, I always put curves so it looks like they're coming out of the shadows here. Then once you've done one, you can just apply it this way. I love this plugin. If you want to do this in Illustrator natively, you have to select all the anchors and then apply them all at the same time, but you don't always need to do that. That's why I like using Astute Graphics plugin for dynamic corners for rounding, because I can make decisions based off of specific areas rather than just assuming all of them should get the same round. Like on the tongue, I think the tongue, it makes more sense having a darker shadow on the bottom and a shallower shadow on the top type thing. Now, if you don't want to, we can ungroup all these, because if you don't want to re-round them again, you can go copy and paste, and then just flip them, bring them down to where the other ones are, copy them, select these, delete, paste, and now you have all the detail on the teeth below. I'll do the same kind of rounding on the fish, basically on the head here and here. Make these so they're not dagger sharp points. Everything else I'll leave on the skull. I think his chins, or what do you call these areas? And then I definitely think his teeth, at least on the bottom, need to be rounded a bit. We'll even round this. And we'll round his nose. There we go. I think the bone's fine, or the leg bone, or whatever that is. Okay, I think we'll do a few more details, and then we'll color it and call it good. Okay, I think that's all the detailing I'll do on this one. Now we're going to color it. So, oops, needs to be a fill color. Something like that. Maybe a little lighter. What's a good vomit color? These, again, can be white. Maybe the vomit should be a little darker. Not quite that dark. Something like that. I think we need some black coming through. So we'll just make some of these random ones black. And then we'll insert some other colors. Orange, maybe a little lighter. Then I think we need brown, maybe? No, darker brown. Purple? Magenta? Oh, I like that. Then we still have this one. I think I'll do one that's, no, that color's not good. Okay, I think that looks pretty, I don't like this tongue color. Let's get a better, I thought I had a pink color. I guess I don't. I'm going to violate my own rules. I'm going to create a pink color. Let's go here. I want some distinctly more pink, less black. We don't need any yellow. Something like that. That's a little light. Let's there. Okay. There we go. So that's the final Blurg built out modern culture design. The next one that I want to create is a different theme. It's this one, and I called this one Grok. I kind of borrowed that term from Twitter's AI like question thing, which, by the way, out of all the AIs, when I ask questions, that one's pretty good. ChatGPT, that's kind of sketchy. So this is one we're going to build out. Now, I'm going to build it out in this video, but I'm not going to do it in live time. So we will take it from this point, and then it will go into Timelapse, and that may be about a minute or so. And I'll put it to music, and then when I come back, I'll walk you through a few things, and we'll be done. So for me, this is going to take a little bit to create this. For you, it'll just be about a minute from this point. Okay, we are back. So hope you enjoyed that time lapse. This is how the Grok build came out. Now that I'm looking at it, maybe we'll bring some of the gold down here. Give him a gold tooth. So we had the first one, which is, what did I call this? Splurge. Now that I'm looking at this, though, it's like I don't care much for this color. I think this one needs to be like a orange. I like that better. Oh, you know what I forgot? I forgot to turn one of his teeth into a gold tooth, so we'll do that as well. Yeah, thank you, Illustrator, for messing up my recording with those messages. I can't stand in-app advertising. So this is how this one turned out, and I'd put a highlight on Grok because he has one huge eye. This guy has a huge eye too, so if I want to, I could put a highlight on that one. I just want to make sure to keep with the aesthetic. So in this case, it would be as thick as kind of the line work on the interior. Then, put it somewhere like that and probably bring it down somewhere like this. Then we can color it white. So if you want a highlight, he could have a highlight as well. So Splurge final, Grok final, but the one you can build if you want to. And I'll give whoever sends me a file they build, I'll send you a free sticker. Not of your art, of course. I mean, that'd be a lot of money if everybody decides to do this. But this was the other one, and this is the easiest of all of them you could build. I named this one Demetrius. Why? I don't know. Just popped in my head, so I named him. This one would be a pretty easy one to build, and I'll end up building this, but I'll do this off camera. So when I do my promotion for this week's content coming up, he'll be in the images that I use. So just turn this one on, go to the layer, set the layer whatever percent you prefer. I use 15, lock the layer, and then on the build layer, build out using those methods. Now keep in mind, this is the 4-point build size. So if you want to build it using the 200, just blow everything up 200%. That's up to you. But this is a fun style to work in. It looks really great in its grid format. So if I take all the designs, this isn't all the designs. I have over 400 now. But when you put them in a grid, it doesn't matter what the subject matter is. My subject matter is all over the map. It's like weird fringe things, animals, lots of animals. Animals are always a great topic. Historical things. I was reading an article on Nefertari, Egyptian queen, so I did one for that. Heard another talk about Nebuchadnezzar, so a Mesopotamian guy, and so that's what I drew here, kind of based off of that. Of course, I like Star Wars, so I did a Star Wars one down here. I'm not sure if any of my Star Trek ones made it into this. I don't see one, but I did Worf from Next Generation. A lot of mythology in this, like Trimurti, one of my favorite ones. Here's a shogun, a warrior. I like koi fish, so I did a koi. I live in the Pacific Northwest, so if you live here, you've seen eagles everywhere around the river systems, and they love grabbing fish and flying off. That's why the fish is kind of shocked here. So all over the map, a lot of fun themes. They all work together. Why do they work together? Is it because of the theme? No. Is it because of the subject matter? No. It's because of the aesthetic and the colors. I limited it to just the colors that are in the swatches palette here. And I use the exact same aesthetic, the same sizing and detailing methods, and that's why they all work together as a family of graphics. Now, the grids are cool, but, not super useful in terms of, well, this would make a really cool pattern for like lounge shirts, in my opinion. I'd go black with the lounge shirt, so it's just the artwork floating in place. That'd be kind of cool. So if anybody watches this that happens to work for a textile company, let's do a modern culture fabric. I think people would freak over it. It'd be fun. But you could take a simple graphic that you create and turn into a wallpaper design that you could use on your iPhone or on your Mac or on an iPad, etc. I took some of my designs and worked with a tile company based out of California, and they take these with them when they go to every kind of a trade show for interior designers and stuff. And just the day yesterday, Friday, I record on Saturdays. They shared a video of one of their sales reps going through their samples of tiles. She's pulling out these drawers and looking at them. And it was a really nice one she did of my tiles that she pulled out. And she was just kind of giving them some love. And I really appreciate that. So far, I haven't seen any orders. I think it would be ideal situation if it was like a children's museum and they had a wall of tiles and the kids had to pick the matching ones, like find the sun, and they'd have to find out where the sun is. They could turn it into that type of game. So it'd be kind of interactive, but it'd be very artistic. So a lot of fun. So I hope you enjoyed this one. And for me, building this type of artwork is like vector doodling of sorts. I've done so many of them that it's just kind of relaxing, just having fun with it, and at times figuring out what's the best way to build. And that's the beauty of it, is you will figure out a way to approach certain shapes and craft them in such a way that you improve your vector building skills. So I encourage you to try to build out Demetrius, and if you do, make sure to share it with me. I want to see how you pulled that off. I didn't do that one in this movie, of course, but I will do it off camera after I'm done recording today. And I hope you found this content helpful. If you enjoy People Love Process, the least you can do after watching a movie is give it a like. If you liked it. If you didn't like it, you go, that sucked. Then don't like it. It's that simple. But that does help the algorithm. So I really appreciate those who do share it, who do like it, who do comment. You guys have a lot of good insights at times, and you give me ideas based off of those. So don't hold back. Then again, there's a couple of you that are a little more intuitive than I am with certain features of Illustrator. And you go out of your way to remind you could have done it this way. I don't mind those. That's why I follow certain people who I admire their knowledge of Illustrator. And one of those is my friend Igor. He's based out of Russia. He's super smart when it comes to Illustrator. So he's always helping me out when I get stumped, because I get stumped. And my friend Monica, she's based out of Germany. So you should see... Google Monica Guys sometime and see if you can find one of her videos where she builds an entire design using one anchor point. It's pretty incredible. I call her Vector Voodoo, because what she does sometimes, I'm like, what? How'd you do that? And she does it because she knows... she's the only one I know that does it, so that's why she does it. So until next time, thank you for watching, and I hope some of this helps you improve your own creative process. Don't forget, I want to see your Demetrius, so make sure to access the exercise file. That always helps us and supports this channel as well.